Well, that's that then. After the disastrous launch of Concord, PlayStation has decided to shutter Firewalk Studios. It's a sad bit of news, as the studio is clearly filled with talented FPS developers, but Concord just wasn't the answer. It didn't offer a unique gameplay experience, the aesthetic didn't seem to get anyone really excited, except for the people who were mad about it, and it launched at a $40 price tag, when other games offer similar or even better experiences for free. There wasn't much hope for any sort of success story here. The sad truth of the matter is that I'm not going to be surprised when other studios that are following similar paths of trying to enter markets already controlled by major players suffer the same fate. This isn't just limited to the major publishers, either. It's new startup studios too targeting these audiences, getting major investment to do it, and then making the same games that already exist and expecting success. I'm not trying to shit on anyone's hard work, let me be clear here, but I do think you might be out of touch with your own target market. I've been playing a lot of different betas or recent free-to-play launches, and I'm just rubbing my temples, wondering how these studios expect to succeed. Two of these games I want to talk about are Spectre Divide and Fragpunk, both made by new studios with significant backing behind them. Both are games that I don't think are going to succeed long term. Spectre Divide was developed by Mountaintop Studios, which is comprised of former developers from a variety of big name studios such as Riot, Respawn, Blizzard, and Naughty Dog. Since 2021, the studio's raised over $60 million in funding for the game, which has been struggling to make the splash they'd hoped for. Back in September, Mountaintop had to lay off 13 people to keep the 70+ person studio sustainable. Fragpunk is being developed by Bad Guitar Studio, which is a subsidiary of Thunderfire, a studio owned by NetEase. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of details on their funding, other than assuming it's not small considering their backing. If you haven't played them, Spectre Divide and Fragpunk both offer experiences very similar to Valorant and Counter-Strike before them. Both games have teams facing off to attack or defend bomb sites, but each has their own mechanical twist. Spectre Divide's unique mechanic has players create a copy of themselves to place around the map, which can be used to basically be in two places at once to cover both bomb sites. Fragpunk uses a collectible card-based system, which offers a variety of buffs, debuffs, goofs, and map changes like adding fog or foliage on a map that normally doesn't have it. Both games are fine, offering a unique take on the genre they're going for. I had fun with my time in them even, but I just don't see either of them being different enough to pull players away from the top dogs of the market like Counter-Strike and Valorant. Now, I'm not saying these games need to be runaway success stories. They can have consistent, steady player bases and be just fine, but as we've seen time and time again with these kinds of games, they have an initial rush and interest from players and then struggle to maintain it long term. If they don't, they're on the clock to meet the community demands and remarket the game to get people excited about it again before their money runs out. The current market essentially expects these types of games to be launched for free. That's what many argued was the reason Concord failed, at least. So, without that initial influx of cash that you'd get as a premium release, you just have to hope that players latch onto the game and stick with it to drive revenue to sustain the studio. There's no easy solution for these studios trying to enter and be competitive in this market. A great example of this is the just announced Project Ethos from 31st Union, a new studio under 2K Games. When the game was revealed a couple weeks ago, I just saw a collective sigh from the games community and industry at large. Yet another free-to-play hero shooter with a Fortnite aesthetic, but this time with roguelike elements, and instead of Battle Royale, it's an extraction game. I almost formed an entire sentence with just buzzwords. I don't feel too great about that. Competition is good, but if you're going to be competitive, you have to offer an experience that's unique. Offering a slightly different take on the same type of game via a new mechanic isn't providing players with a unique experience. Not to mention finding a way to pull the audience that is stuck on their forever games, like Fortnite, Warzone, Valorant, League of Legends, whatever it might be, to your game and keep them there. Throwing a lavish preview event with a bunch of influencers paid to be there and be excited about the game isn't going to win customers in 2024.
Howdy do, fellow kids.
I'm obviously a broken record on repeating some of these points, but studios and publishers in the multiplayer space just keep making the same mistakes over and over again, to the point even the general public who play these games are asking why. The studios that seem to be thriving in the multiplayer scene right now are smaller, more focused development teams making more unique experiences. Not to mention avoiding the free-to-play market altogether so that they can recoup their development costs while continuing to sustainably build their games alongside their respective communities. Some of my favorite multiplayer experiences over the last few years have been games like Phasmophobia, Ready or Not, Sons of the Forest, Hell Let Loose, First Class Trouble, Chained Together, all games that offer unique experiences focused on player interaction and just having fun.
Oh! No!
That's not to say these specific games aren't similar to other games on the market, or even the best ones. Phasmophobia is a janky mess. but I've still put hundreds of hours into it at this point, and it's a game my friends and I return to regularly. What these games do offer are experiences that the big budget games aren't. They're taking risks that major publishers refuse to take, despite ending up at the same endpoint over and over again and then blaming the studios for it. Circling back around to Concord, I have yet to see any sufficient explanation of why that game cost hundreds of millions to make. A game like Hell Let Loose was originally funded on Kickstarter before it being picked up by the publisher Team 17, and to be quite frank, is far more impressive in scale, immersion, and player engagement than pretty much any other big budget multiplayer FPS I can think of, including Battlefield itself. The games I previously listed are filling niches in the market that are going completely ignored by the big publishers, and I'm super excited for these teams finding success by not trying to compete with the behemoth franchises of the market. But if big publishers, or even independent studios like Mountaintop, are spending millions of dollars on games like Concord, Project Ethos, Hyenas, Spectre Divide, all shooters by the way, I'd at least like to see an exciting new game come out of that money, and for people to keep their jobs instead of going through years of grueling development to just have all that time, money, and talent thrown away, relegated to a farewell post on Twitter of all places.